Hey guys, this is Out of the Law and Promise. This chapter is The Law, and that's actually the title of it. It's by Neville Goddard. And I really like this chapter because it goes into self-abandonment and how you must abandon yourself mentally to your wish fulfilled in your love for that state. And it really goes over some really key elements here, and I really wanted to bring to your attention. Thought you would enjoy it, and it's going to answer some questions I've been getting to. To attempt to change circumstances before you change your imaginal activity is to struggle against the very nature of things. There can be no outer change until there is first an imaginal change. Everything you do unaccompanied by an imaginal change is but futile readjustment of surfaces. Imagining the wish fulfilled brings about a union with that state, and during that union you behave in keeping with your imaginal change. This shows you that an imaginal change will result in a change of behavior. Changing the conception of yourself, it changes your behavior, changes your personality. However, your ordinary imaginal alterations as you pass from one state to another are not transformations because each of them is so rapidly succeeded by another in the reverse direction. But whenever one state grows so stable as to become your constant mood, your habitual attitude, then that habitual state defines your character and is a true transformation. That's why we always force ourselves and change our conception of ourselves, because it will reverse the direction rapidly succeeded by one another. All right, how do you do it? Self-abandonment. That is the secret. You must abandon yourself mentally to your wish fulfilled in your love for that state. And in so doing, live in the new state and no more in the old state. You can't commit yourself to what you do not love. So the secret of self-commission is faith plus love. And remember, guys, love is the most powerful energy in the universe. Faith is believing what is unbelievable. Commit yourself to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In faith, that this act of self-commission will become a reality, and it must become a reality because imagining creates reality. Imagination is both conservative and transformative. It is conservative when it builds its world from images supplied by memory and the evidence of the senses. It is creatively transformative when it imagines things as they ought to be, building its world out of the generous dreams of fancy. In the procession of images, the ones that take precedence naturally are those of the senses. Nevertheless, a present sense impression is only an image. It does not differ in nature from a memory image or the image of a wish. They actually proved that in quantum physics. The mind can't determine the difference between what you imagine and what you actually see in reality. What makes a present sense impression so objectively real is the individual's imagination functioning in it and thinking from it. Whereas in a memory image or a wish, the individual's imagination is not functioning in it, the thinking from it, but is functioning out of it and thinking of it. If you would enter into the image in your imagination, then would you know what it is to be creatively transformative. Then you realize your wish, and then you would be happy. Every image can be embodied, but unless you yourself enter the image and think from it, it is incapable of birth. And that's another thing, guys. You got to think from it, not of it, because if you think from it, you're first person. You're actually in the drama. You are the actor in the drama. If you're thinking of it, you're thinking of it as a distance, as a third person. So that's the difference here he's talking about. Every image can be embodied, but unless you yourself enter the image and think from it, it is incapable of birth. Therefore, it is the height of folly to expect the wish to be realized by the mere passage of time. We must do this, guys. We have to act. We have to apply this. It's not going to happen unless you apply it. You have to do these. You have to do these exercises. That which requires imaginative occupancy to produce its effect obviously cannot be effected without such occupancy. You cannot be in one image and not suffer the consequences of not being in another. Imagination is spiritual sensation. Enter the image of the wish fulfilled, then give it sensory vividness and tones of reality by mentally acting as you would were it a physical fact. And that's the feeling. I'm getting a lot of questions about how to feel. How do I live in that wish fulfilled? How do I conjure up all the feeling from that? And he explains that right there. Enter the image of the wish fulfilled, then give it sensory vividness. That means make it real to you. Create the scene just like you would a movie in your mind's eye with your eyes closed. Mentally acting as you would act if it were a physical fact. Now, this is what I mean by spiritual sensation. Imagine that you are holding a rose in your hand. Smell it. Do you detect the odor of roses? Well, if the rose is not there, why is the fragrance in the air? Through spiritual sensation, that is, through imaginal sight, sound, scent, taste, and touch. You can give to the image sensory vividness. If you do this, all things will conspire to aid your harvesting, and upon reflection, you will see how subtle were the threads that led to your goal. You could have never devised this means by which your imaginal activity employed to fulfill itself. All right, guys, the law and promise. This is the law. I wanted to share this part of the chapter with you. I thought it was really, really relevant. And he goes over some specific facts about how self-abandonment. And I really wanted to get into that part and his little explanation here of the rose. If you guys want to try that here, imagine that you are holding a rose in your hand. Smell it. Do you detect the odor of roses? Really get into your imaginal act. Lay down, sit down, close your eyes, and really imagine yourself holding a rose in your hand and smelling it. And try to conjure up that feeling of the smell of that rose. Really, really work on this. And I want you to tell me in the comments if you actually smell that rose or not. And if you can, that proves that our imaginal acts can be that real. You can get that vivid. You can bring that smell. You can bring the five senses into this: a sound, scent, taste, touch, sight, everything. And this is where we start working on this, guys. So do the rose, do that exercise for me, and then leave a comment. Thank you, guys.